Hey everyone, welcome to the Bruce Williams channel. Let's do a wrist check for today. I am wearing the 116610LV. I wore this yesterday and just wanted another day with it on wrist. But today we are talking about the good old days of watch collecting, which for me were between 5 and 10 years ago. I recognize everyone has been in this hobby a different length of time. Some of you are just getting into watches and you're experiencing micro brands for the first time and Seiko for the first time. You're learning about, historic watches like the Speedmaster, the Navitimer, the Reverso, the Monaco, the Explorer. You're really getting into the rabbit hole of watches and you're having a great time. And to you guys, I say welcome. I think it's so great that there are more and more people in this hobby of horology. I honestly think it's awesome. And some of you've been collecting watches for 40 years or more. And you look at me with a decade of experience as a crazy watch enthusiast, and I'm the newbie. So I recognize everyone's at a different stage in their watch collecting journey, but I want to talk about what I consider to be the good old days, which again were between 5 and 8 years ago. I've really been into watches for the past 10 years, and about 5 years ago is when I started my YouTube channel because I wanted to watch or read every review of a particular watch that I was considering purchasing. And about 5 years ago, there wasn't a ton out there. Watch You Seek was the go-to forum where you could read reviews. On YouTube, there were a few watch channels. I think the Urban Gentry was maybe 10,000 viewers or subscribers. The biggest watch channel was a Blog to Watch, and I think they had like 30, and Archie Luxury was about 20. And so I started my channel and I thought, man, it would be awesome if I could just get to 1,000. And if I got to 10,000, man, how amazing would that be? And so I think it's funny comparing and contrasting the watch scene, the watch market from even 5 years ago. It's so different than it is today. And I think today is way better. There are so many watch channels out there, some really fantastic ones. There are tons of forums. Facebook and Instagram is a huge thing for the watch scene now. And brands are coming out with more watches now, more consumer choice than they ever have in their past. So I think it's a perfect time to be a watch enthusiast, and it's an exciting time. But there are some things about the good old days that I really miss, that I'm nostalgic about. And so let me just illustrate a couple of them for you guys and get your take and your opinion. I recognize some of you weren't into watches, 5-10 years ago, and some of you were, into watches before I was born. So when I was getting into watches, when I was in that fun discovery phase where I was learning about all these new models and I was trying out Seikos and micro brands and such. In fact, I'll drop in a picture of my first German watch. And interestingly enough, this was the first review I did on YouTube. This is the Damasco DA47 in black with the full lume dial. This was a pretty significant purchase for me about 5-6 years ago now. So anyways, I was in that fun discovery phase and I was reading a lot on Watch You Seek. And there was a section where everyone was talking about Seiko. Everyone was talking about the SKX and the Monster and the Sumo, the Tuna, the Marine Master. And so I started Googling these watches, and admittedly, the first time I saw a Monster, I was kind of disgusted. I thought that was the most dang dog ugly watch I'd ever seen. I didn't get what the appeal was. It looked so wild. And I remember thinking the Marine Master at first glance was kind of forgettable. Same thing with the SKX. When I was getting into watches in the good old days, Seiko, when it came to divers, you had the SKX. The next step up was a Monster and then a Sumo. And then there was a pretty big jump up to the Shogun. Then you could buy a Tuna. And then the highest level was a Marine Master 300. And that was about it. You could get black, sometimes blue, on the rare occasion an orange dial. And then later on, they started doing Patty and Zimby. So when I was getting into watches, we didn't have the awesome selection that we have today. We didn't have the Turtle. We didn't have the Samurai or the SBDC series, the 05, 06 series. We didn't have any of the luxury reissues of the 62 MAS or the Captain Willard. There was no LX line from Seiko. Really, we're kind of spoiled now with all the additions and colorways and just offerings. And it's fun to see Seiko evolve. It's fun to see how they went from doing only hardlex and aluminum and steel when it came to crystals and bezels to now doing sapphire and ceramic, and seeing them evolve and seeing their bracelets get a little bit better. They're still a little bit lacking, but it's fun to see the progress. But the thing I miss most about the good old days, the beginning days, was, at least when it came to Seiko, the prices were wild. You could buy a Gen 2 Monster orange for about $200. I think I spent like $218 or something when I bought mine, and I bought mine from a seller in the United States that would ship real fast. So that's why I spent a little bit more. But you could get Gen 2 Monsters for $200. A Seiko SKX was like $165, $170, depending on if you got the rubber or the J or the bracelet or something like that. The Sumo you could buy for $370 new from Seiya. You could get a Marine Master brand new for about $1,800. That's what I spent when I bought my first Marine Master. And if you bought it used, you could find them as low as, $1,400. And you look at it today, and Marine Masters are like almost $3,000. You can't find a 6R, at least a modified 6R, for under $600. Alpinists are way more expensive than they used to be. SARB 33 has been discontinued, and we only have 4R Presages really to take its place in that price segment. So, the watch scene is really different, and I miss those prices from 5-10 years ago. But at the same time, I have to remind myself we're living in a completely different economy, a different time, and I can't expect a brand that I love like Seiko to keep prices from 5 years ago till now in the end of 2020. When they update a price, they're not just updating it for that year. They're looking 5, sometimes 8 years into the future, depending on the watch and the production run, what they have planned. So the higher prices we're seeing now for Seiko, we can moan and groan about it, and I certainly do that. But at the same time, I recognize I need to be realistic about the watch scene and how it's different and how many more people are into it now and how much more choice I have as a consumer and how the technologies and innovations have gotten better over time. And it's not just with Seiko. When I was getting into watches, there were just a few micro brands that were well respected. Helson, Armida, I know they're kind of the same company. Helios. I know I'm missing a couple. But you look at the micro brand scene now, and it's wild. There are hosts of brands and Kickstarter campaigns, and the selection is fantastic. And we have a new section of luxury micro brands like Pelton and Brellam and Monta, which I guess you could argue are more of a boutique brand. Back when I was getting into watches, Christopher Ward didn't have a fashion logo, right? So, it's just funny to compare and contrast the scene from 5 or 10 years ago, including the social media scene, the watch channel scene on YouTube, the pricing scene. Let's talk about Rolex real briefly. When I went in to buy my first Rolex about 8 years ago, I walked into my authorized dealer and I saw almost every watch in stock in the display cases. I tried on a no date Submariner, which I ended up buying, the 114060. I tried on the Date. I tried on the Sea Dweller 4000. I even tried on a Daytona, a Blue Z Milgauss, a GMT Master 2. They had the Explorer in stock. They had obviously tons of Datejusts in stock. They had a lot in the case. And I got a discount on my sub. I got a little bit off. I got the tax off and like plus 1% more. And I know guys that got, discounts on Hulks and things. So the watch scene was so different 5 or 10 years ago. But again, it was a different economy. We were kind of crawling out of the Great Recession. There wasn't as many people with discretionary income to spend on silly luxury items and men's jewelry, watches. So it really was a different scene. And I look at it now and the YouTube scene is hopping. It's awesome. There's so many great channels. Instagram is powerful. There's buy, sell, trade groups on Facebook. Well, Watch You Seek is a place where you go to sell your watch now and not read reviews and blogs and things, write-ups, I guess what I'm trying to say. It's so different now. And it makes me wonder, what are we going to see in 5 to 10 years from now? What are the prices going to be like? What's Rolex going to be like? What's Seiko going to be like? And I'm excited. I see the change that went from my good old days to the days now. And I wonder, how much more innovation will we get when it comes to technology and materials? And I just think it's exciting. So guys, I'm interested to know, what's your take? What's your opinion? Where's the watch scene going to go 5 to 10 years from now? What's YouTube going to look like? What is a large channel going to look like? Is it going to be 70,000 like where I'm at now? Or are we going to see the first 1 million subscriber watch channel? I'm interested to hear your guys' opinion. And what do you think is the good old day for collecting for you? Was it 5 years ago? Was it 25 years ago? Was it last year? We're all at a different journey, a different part in our journey. And I just think it's great. We're all sharing this hobby and I'm interested to hear your take. So thanks for watching today. I hope you have a great day and I'll see you in the next video.